how many people were forced to be like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna do what I've always wanted to do, like my hobby. And like a lot of people left their careers and like are doing like
and aren't looking back. My soul is happy right now. Like. So hold on, like this shit is incredible. And I feel like most people think that this show probably took you a couple years, but I feel like I happen to know that this is a long time coming.
I mean, the painting took about 2.5 years.
Right.
But my last show was 6 years ago. And then lots happened since then. But yeah, it was about 2.5 years of painting. Not even constantly either. I did a bunch of murals in between a lot of the paintings.
For sure.
But yeah, it's a lot of work.
You've been crazy busy these past couple of years, man. Seriously.
Yeah, built a bar, learned how to open it and run, or learn how to get it open and get it running and staff it and all that fun stuff. So.
But mixing the art with the bar, I think was something that was interesting too, because you had done that show, you know, and I got to be a muse in, which was hella cool too. There's this giant piece of my face now I don't even know where it is. But
the painting of you is actually what sparked me owning the bar. So the story is, I mean, I did. I did the show, and my buddy that I knew just from the Belltown community on the block, he came and bought that painting at the show, red dotted it, and I was like,
boom.
And like, he owned a bar called John John's on the hill, and he ended up putting that painting in his arcade.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks after the show, apparently he looked at the space, and he was like, I'm gonna do this. I need, you know, I think that you should be my partner in the bar. And I was like,
man.
I met him there, and like, when it became available for rent, like we went in there and I was like, this is nuts. It was completely empty. There was some blueprints left behind, but we basically had to figure out the layout and like figure out what's gonna stay, what's gonna go, and like what it was just, it's a 5,500 square foot space. So.
Man, and who would have thought that show would have led you to Jupiter, right? Like, because it wasn't necessarily your plan to like do the show and then open a bar. It was just kind of a thing.
No, I met the dudes from Trees and Gallery when they had a spot in Ballard, and I like walked in there and like, I never approach galleries. Like, I don't think that, it's just not my nature to like approach a gallery and be like, hi. You know, it's just awkward to me, but I did it to them because they seemed cool, like all the shows they were having. It was called Sticks and Stones, I think.
Yep.
And I was just like rolling around and I'm like, what is this? And like popped in on one of their openings and I was like, hey, you know, I do art, whatever. I'm hell embarrassed, but here I do art. And I don't know, you know, they ended up getting trees in, and that was huge. So I just did that, you know, because I really wanted to do an art show. When I came to Belltown, I was coming fresh off of a lift operating job at Stevens Pass. And, like, I dropped out of high school and was like, just went to the mountains for like 6 years. Wow. And so when I came back to the city, I was like, I just had a skateboard and a backpack and like some money, and like I was painting houses. Like I would paint houses in the summer and lift operate in the winter. So I've always been a house painter.
Right.
And like this time I was like, I'm not going back to the mountains. So I ended up just pulling up a bar stool at the old whiskey bar, and became friends with everyone there. And that was like how everything started. Like the owner's wife signed for my first apartment.
Wow.
So like I ended up getting an apartment above the bar. Like you take an elevator from the bar to my apartment.
Dude.
And then like literally my mom got me an easel. Like it's hella corny, but like
so cute. I'm about to send it here.
yeah, I don't know. I learned how to curate and do art all in that building in the old Palladian. I've always really been into old steam engines.
Right.
So I would collect like these books of just train culture, and like I obviously love trains and boats and airplanes. Being from Seattle, you know, like my dad like worked for Boeing and actually owned a tugboat and like used to take me around and all the, it's long story, but you know, fast forward 18 years later, I'm finally painting it in my own style. But the hardest part is like finding out who you are and like figuring out what you want to paint. That's like been, even though I knew I wanted to paint machines and stuff like that, like I didn't really know how I was gonna get there or what it was gonna look like until you just have to start setting things in motion and they unfold naturally, sort of. Dude, people that play here are shredders. Like, Seattle has like some of the best pinball players in the world. If my dad was around, I wouldn't even know, like, he'd be freaking out.
Right.
That was a huge part of my journey too, was like being such a degenerate for so long.
Right.
Not a degenerate, I just like to party and be a kid.
You have the test shit.
I'm 41, I'm still sitting here partying and being a kid.
Right.
But like, he passed away before I could really, he passed away when I was 27. So I had just done the mural on Golden Oldies in 2006 when that happened. And he was like, oh, this is what you're gonna do? Go for it. Finally, he was like, go for it. Like, and then he passed away and I was like, that's it. When that happened, I was like, I'm going 100% into my art.
Because he found your purpose. He was like, okay, this is his shit. I was telling Kayla when we were here for the show, it's like, you know, there's these incredibly detailed sort of like still lifes almost. You take these pieces of these machines, but then you have these sort of intersection moments that happen where there's like a cutout here and then it becomes something else. And then it's like, you just blown my mind because instead of just like taking the thing and painting the thing, you turned it into something else.
Yeah, and it's like looking at, you know, any one of these machines before they get collaged into like multiple things.
Right.
They're already intricate and mysterious and you don't know how they work or how they were made. And like, to me, I'm like addicted to learning how things work.
Yeah.
And how they were made.
Right.
But I kind of wanted to like show that like multiple pieces could be put together from all different, you know, styles and angles and walks of life, but they could be put together beautifully and like have a new meaning. You know what I mean? Like, they all have these original functions, but when you put them all together, like they're basically forgotten. A lot of the stuff isn't even used anymore. But I'm kind of beautifully putting them together into like a new meaning where they don't necessarily have to operate together.
Right.
But they just exist together and they look really pretty.
That is like such an indicative part of who you are. You know what I mean? You're all of these different things. Your street, your commercial, your bar, your art, your joy. You know what I mean? Your community. You know, skating, like all the things.
Everything but sleep.
Everything but sleep.
Humans are so just like inventive and brilliant, but at the same time wasteful. And there's different meanings of like naming the show Hold On. Like, one of them was like, hold on, like just stop, just take a breath and like appreciate what's around you. Humans made this stuff like through heavy machinery, you know, most of the time, to be functional, to help us in our everyday lives. And like, and so now in like the age of technology, it's like everyone wants to live in a tiny, like teeny tiny apartment with like their little computer and that's it. They don't have to like really deal with the guy that built the building or the guy that plumbed the building or the guy that painted the building or the guy that's gonna come back and fix your wall. It's like a separation between like luxury and blue collar that's like, the gap's only getting bigger.
It's getting bigger.
And it's getting harder and harder to like to make it and just be comfortable if things start going bad.
Right.
We gotta figure out how to, you know, fire these things back up. Like what happens when they go all electric cars and then the power goes out? You know what I mean? It's
What
like,
you gonna do?
now we got to fire up that Chevy. Where's all the spare parts? Oh, we threw them away.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I think that's interesting too, to think about that with regard to human inventiveness. You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
have all these lofty ideas, but it's like,
Yeah.
you think that's new, but actually it comes from something that's been here for ages. Do you have any hope for that relationship between like the blue collar and the tech?
I own an arcade.
Right.
And like, there's tons of old video games, there's tons of pinball, but I see young people like every day in my bar. Like I see them in groups and like, yeah, they love the arcade and they love the art. And it's like, maybe there's a way to like educate people on how important blue collar Seattle is and how important it is to save our historical buildings.
We could go back a couple years, 2020, talk about, you know, the moments before the big thing. You told me about, because I know, like, you know, Jupiter was obviously like having to shut down. You know, you have to do the loan situation, and you know, how do you balance your employees with the whole thing? And then, you know, there's murals happening, and businesses are getting boarded up, and you know, all that. Like, talk about what that was.
What a chaotic couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, when I first started talking to you, I was like, let's just do something together. I was like, let's just have a show, or like, we'll get a mural, or just do something.
Yep.
Yeah, and then like it unfolded into something humongous. So a couple days prior, I had seen this guy. His Instagram's like Da Flamingo, I think, and he's from Atlanta. It's been so long now.
Yeah.
But I saw what they were doing, and they were doing a huge ground mural that wasn't just painted yellow or whatever. They were painting murals in the letters, and I was like, oh man. And I actually fell asleep that night, like after I saw that, and I was talking to him, and I fell asleep that night, and I literally could not sleep. I like woke up at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and I was like, no, dude, there's like that street right there is closed off right now, where everyone's marching. It's the heart of everything. I was like, oh my God, like we could do this. And like I messaged the dude, and I was like, send me the specs.
Right.
And like, he didn't wake up till like way after that, but I ended up finding Jaffe, because Jaffe is like, just from his head, he's just a great sign painter. He's probably one of the best in Seattle.
Definitely.
And I knew that he could do it with me, because we've worked together on stuff before, and I knew that he could lay it out without instruction. So he ended up meeting me up there, and I also was like, I have 33 gallons of cement primer in my art studio that I'm never gonna use. Like, what am I gonna use cement primer for? I think it was from the bar.
Yeah.
From like primering the anyway.
Yeah.
So I went and got all that, met up with Jaffe. We went up there. All we had was a chalk line, chalk, and a tape measure. And I was like, my goal that was just to lay it out and get it down. And I think I called you this when we started it. You were there when we started it.
Yeah, you called me that night before, and we're like, yo, like you sent me the thing.
We're gonna do this.
We're like, we need to do
oh,
this
yeah,
shit. Yeah.
I was like, hey, I finally got what we're gonna do together.
Yes.
Like, we're gonna do this.
Yep.
And you were like, oh shit, like, yeah. I was like, we're gonna do a 170-foot long mural on the ground.
Right.
Which I've never done a ground mural.
Me neither.
So we went up there, and I remember we started laying it out like in the mid-afternoon or something. And it actually went really well. And towards the end of it, someone gave me like a Coors Light, and I was finishing the R, and I was like, yeah! And then that shot got on CNN the next morning, and I was like, no, that's not the message. All right, but that was the best part, is I got to meet like 14 or 15 artists I've never met before, and they're all so sick.
Right.
And you know, then going and getting all the paint and like gathering a truckload of like latex, and then watching everyone just like tackle their letter and do their own vibe in each letter was just so magical to watch. And like all I was there for was to like use what I had and my idea and my supplies to kick it in motion. And then y'all just took it, and it was like a really big thing. It was huge.
So yeah, man, like, what's next?
Well, in the same, we were talking about, you know, like how my last show got me the bar. With this show, I literally just wanted to, like, even if it cost me a ton of money, I've been saving up for this. Like, this is a goal to, like, get to the next level and put my own workout on a major scale and just show everyone, like, yeah, like, I'm a bar owner, you know, this is just a business that I run. I do it for everyone, but this is for me. And so and I'm still a painter, and like, this is still my life goal, is to be a painter.